Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Law, Seoul, Certificate in Cooperation, Cooperative Law, CCLBL, BLE-011 Cooperation, Genesis, Principles, Values, Growth and Development, Block-1 Cooperation, Genesis and Principles. Unit-1 Genesis of cooperative law both in India and few selected countries. 1.1 Introduction. Meaning and definition of cooperation. The concept of cooperation envisages a group of persons having one or more common economic needs, who voluntarily agree to pool their resources, both human and material, and use them for mutual benefit through an enterprise managed by them on democratic lines. Cooperation is self-help as well as mutual help. It is joint enterprise of those who are not financially strong and cannot stand on their own, and therefore come together not with a view of getting profits but to overcome disability arising out of want of adequate financial resources and thus better their economic condition. Cooperatives enable the members to put their best to attain a higher standard of living for themselves without exploiting others. It honors human values and also provides incentives. Cooperation is a form of economic organization based on certain values of life. It is a voluntary and democratic association of human beings, based on equality of control, opportunity and equity of distribution. Further, it stands for the promotion of the common interests of producers and consumers. All economic concerns run for profit, and profit-making is their sole objective. But cooperation renders services to its members without the intention of making profits. Cooperation is a middle way between the two extremes of capitalistic economy and socialistic economy. Free enterprises of capitalistic economy is responsible for exploitation and concentration of economic wealth, whereas socialism leads to curtailment of individual freedom. Hence, cooperation is the via media between two of them. Thus, cooperation as an economic organization is both unique and different from other concerns. Cooperation has been defined by H. Covert as a form of organization in which persons voluntarily associate together as human beings on the basis of equality, for the promotion of the economic interests of themselves. The essentials of this definition are that 1. A cooperative is a voluntary form of organization. 2. It is an association of human beings. 3. It is organized on the basis of equality. And 4. Its objective is the economic interests of its members. Covert's definition is most widely quoted and is generally accepted as the best definition of cooperation, but its main weakness is that it does not recognize cooperative organizations for the promotion of interests other than economic. Again, a cooperative society is not entirely formed for the promotion of the economic interest of its members only. It has a social philosophy of serving the interest of the community which is not covered in this definition. Professor Paul Lambert, the well-known authority on cooperation, defined cooperation as an enterprise formed and directed by an association of users, applying within itself the rules of democracy and directly intended to serve both its own members and the community as a whole. The definition given by Professor Lambert was considered more appropriate to explain cooperatives, as for the first time it has been made clear that a cooperative society is to serve not only the interest of its members but must also serve the interests of the whole community. 1.2 Objectives. After studying the unit, students should be able to times understand the meaning and concept of cooperation, times explain the history of cooperative movement in India, and Times familiarize with the cooperative movement in other part of the world. 1.3 Characteristics of cooperative enterprise. In the light of the above definitions and views, the chief characteristics of the cooperative enterprise may be listed as follows. 1. An association of person. A cooperative society is an association of several persons like a joint stock company. The persons who associate together contribute capital in the shape of shares. In cooperatives, it is man that counts much, not money. More emphasis is given on man, and not on capital he contributes. 2. A business enterprise. A cooperative society is not a charitable enterprise. It is a form of business organization, coupled with profit and risk. The members as shareholders in the society possess a common interest and have common need to satisfy. 3. A voluntary enterprise. The element of coercion is absent in a cooperative enterprise. Admission and retirement of a member in the society is completely voluntary. 4. A democratic enterprise. A cooperative society is managed democratically. Every member has one and only one vote to exercise irrespective of the number of shares held by him. 5. The motto is to serve rather than to earn. Although the element of profit is attached to a cooperative society, the main aim of the cooperation is service. Provision of maximum service is the prime objective of cooperatives. 6. Keynote of cooperation is mutual help. The keynote of cooperation is mutual help and self-help, and its slogan is, Ally for one, and one for all. 7. The basis of equality and equity. One of the important features of cooperative enterprise is equity and equality. Its members are placed on the basis of equality, irrespective of their differences in race, religion, color, creed, social status, political standing, and financial position. The distinctive feature of cooperative society is that the surplus or profit is distributed not according to shareholding but according to the proportion of business operations transacted by the members during the given period. 8. Aims at socio-economic change. The cooperative movement aims at a socio-economic change through peaceful means. It became a part and parcel of our socio-economic movement. 9. Service to community. The important feature of cooperative enterprise is not only to serve its members for economic upliftment but also to serve the community at large. 1.4 Objectives of Co-operation. Every cooperative institution comes into existence for the fulfillment of certain specific objectives, which may be called immediate aims. These immediate aims differ from society to society, but the long-term objectives of all cooperative institutions and societies, whether they operate in the primary, secondary or at apex level remains are the same. These long-run objectives may be called the general objectives or the basic objectives. They are analyzed as follows. 1. Elimination of intermediaries. The primary objective of a cooperative society is to remove the middlemen or intermediaries present in different fields of economic activity. These middlemen used to take away a major portion of the gains which should have reached the beneficiaries. Consumer cooperative societies have been able to eliminate many wholesalers and retailers who came in between the producers and the consumers. Marketing cooperatives have saved the farmers from the long chain of middlemen who were exploiting them with very low prices for their produce at all times. 2. Raising the economic status of the weaker sections. The basic objective of a cooperative society is to raise the standard of living of the poor Such people form an association to undertake business independently and get their rewards for their work without being exploited by employers. When the economic status is raised, it has positive effects on the social and cultural life of the weaker sections. 3. Removal of the evils of capitalism. Capitalism is guided by profit motive. This leads to exploitation, class struggle, inequality, unfair competition, and all related ills. The cooperative movement is an effective alternative to capitalism wherein it provides fair profit to its members and better services to improve their quality of life. Point 4. Raising the moral standards of its members. The combination of business with ethics is a novel feature of a cooperative society. This leads to the conduct of business activity with honesty and truthfulness. The cooperative tries not only to improve the economic life of its members, but also tries to instill in them the moral qualities. 5. Increasing the prosperity of the community. An important objective of cooperation is to instill among the people a sense of the community. People are encouraged to deviate from the individualistic attitude and take broader view of life. The dictum, all for one and one for all, stresses the fact that the cooperative society aims at bringing about the welfare of not a particular individual but of the whole community. The community feeling fosters the bond of cooperation. 6. Abolition of social inequalities. Wealth and power have caused a lot of social inequality and tension in the society. The rich and the powerful enjoy many privileges, which are denied to the poor and the weak. The removal of such inequality is another objective of the cooperative movement. Here members are guaranteed equal rights and opportunities and there is no possibility of hurting anybody's interests. 7. Neutrality in religion and politics. A cooperative society is expected to remain neutral from political parties and religious groups. Politics and religion automatically cause discrimination and it goes against the very fundamental of cooperation. 8. Development of corporate life. A cooperative aims at providing a corporate life for its members. It has no faith in the natural law of the survival of the fittest. It aims to transform the weak into the strong and make them fit for a better life. The ultimate objective of cooperation is cooperative commonwealth, where the whole economy is regulated and controlled by cooperatives. 1.5 Origin and development of cooperative movement in India. The Indian cooperative movement, like other countries of the world, is a child of distress. It has emerged out of that turmoil and dissatisfaction which prevailed during the last quarter of the 19th century and worked as a direct consequence of the Industrial Revolution. The revolution led to the decay of cottage industries and growing pressure on land, making agriculture an uneconomic venture, greater mobility of rich people from villages to towns and investment of capital to new channels. The growth of middlemen acting as parasites to the disadvantage of small producers. The change in the method of payment of land revenue from kind to tax, thrown the cultivators into the clutches of the landowners, etc. All these destroyed the self-sufficient economy of the villages. The failure of rains and frequent famines worsened the situation. The indebtedness of the farmers increased manifold. The government first took indirect steps to check the growing influence of the Mahajan, but large success could not be achieved. Thereafter various legislative measures were adopted for granting loans and credit facilities to the farmers for their agricultural pursuits. The need for providing cheap credit facilities to the farmers went on becoming strong. And the idea of starting cooperative credit societies got momentum in 1892. The Madras government sent Sir Frederick Nicholson for studying the cooperative movements in European countries. Nicholson's report was received in 1897, in which Nicholson remarked, "Find Raiffeisen." The Government of India appointed another committee in 1901 under the chairmanship of Sir Edward Law to study the question of starting cooperative credit societies in India. This committee also recommended the establishment of societies on the Raiffeisen model. The Famine Commission of 1901 also recommended the setting up of mutual credit associations. Accordingly, the Cooperative Credit Societies Act was passed in 1904. This act provided for the establishment of credit societies both in rural and urban areas, for providing credit facilities at cheap rates to small men living in the same locality. Rural societies were to be organized on Raiffeisen model while the urban societies were to be established on the Schulze-Delitzsch pattern. Provision was also made in the Act for the appointment of registrars in every province. The modern cooperative movement in India, thus, may be said to have started with the passing of this Act. 1.6 MSTORY of the cooperative movement in India UP to 1947. The cooperative movement in India has passed through various ups and downs. The history of the origin and growth of the cooperative movement in India can be divided into following periods. 1st June 2001, the first stage of the movement, 1904 to 1911. The cooperative movement in India may be said to have begun with the passing of the Cooperative Credit Societies Act in 1904. The object of this act was to encourage thrift, self-help and cooperation amongst agriculturists, artisans and persons of limited means. The essential features of 1904 Act were as follows. Times a society could be formed by any 10 persons living in the same village or town. Times the cooperative societies were classified as rural and urban. Times the rural societies were bound to have unlimited liability. In case of urban societies, option was left to them. Times the Act provided only for the formation of credit societies. Times the area of operation within which societies could operate was closely restricted. Times the societies could advance loans to members only on personal or real security. Times the interest of a member in the share capital of the society was strictly limited. No member could hold shares for more than 1,000 rupees. Times it provided for the appointment of registrar of cooperative societies in province. Times the accounts of every society were to be audited by the registrar or by a member of his staff free of charge. Times societies were exempted from payment of income tax, stamp duties and registration fees. Times the societies were given a legal personality and were authorized to raise funds and carry on their business in a corporate capacity. One of the special features of the societies during the period was that the government was the prime mover of the movement. The movement was not only initiated by the government, but was also supported by government loans. However, the Act of 1904 was found insufficient to meet the growing needs of the movement due to the following reasons. Times the Act did not provide legal protection to societies formed for purpose other than credit. There was no provision for the formation of a central agency such as the central banks or unions for the financing of primary societies. Times the classification of societies into rural and urban was arbitrary and was found unsuitable. 1st June 2002 Second stage, 1912 to 1918, period of hurried expansion. The defects of the 1904 Act were removed in 1912 when another Cooperative Societies Act was enacted. With the passing of this Act, the movement entered into the second stage of progress. The essential features of this Act are the following. Times. Under this Act, any society, credit or otherwise, may be registered which has the objective of promotion of the economic interests of its members in accordance with the cooperative principles. Times a federal society like the central bank could be registered. Times unless otherwise directed by state government. The liability of central societies shall be limited. B. The liability of rural credit societies shall be unlimited. Times no member can have more than 1/5 of the total share capital or hold shares exceeding rupees 1000 in such a society. Times a society has a charge upon the shares, deposits, etc., of a member with the society in respect of any debt due from such a member. Times the societies are granted exemption from compulsory registration and the state Govt. May grant exemption from the payment of income tax, stamp duties, registration fees, etc. Times 1/4 of the net profits of a society must be carried to its reserve fund. Times requirement of an annual audit were retained. Times subject to the prior claim of the government, a society has a prior claim to enforce a debt against a member. The new Act of 1912 gave a fresh impetus to the growth of the cooperative movement. The number of societies, their membership and the amount of working capital increased steadily during the period. With the establishment of the central banks, primary societies ceased to be dependent on government loans. The concept of multipurpose societies was started during the period. Societies were started among laborers, an attempt to start cooperative housing was made, especially in Bombay. Cooperative education was given a serious attention and classes were held at Bombay for giving training in cooperative work. The progress of the movement was quite rapid, although the qualitative aspect was not very encouraging. 1st June 2003, McLagan Committee Report. During the period under review, 1912 to 1918, the cooperative movement made rapid strides and entered into many new fields. Before fostering further growth, the Government of India wanted to ensure that the movement was progressing on sound lines. In 1914, therefore, a committee under the chairmanship of Sir Ed. McLagan was appointed to take stock of the situation. The committee gave its report in 1915, made far-reaching proposals for the development of the movement. The committee warned about the hurried expansion of the movement through cooperative societies and recommended that the utmost care was to be exercised in the formation of a society. Cooperative societies should be allowed to register only when the officials are convinced that its prospective members understood cooperative principles and duties and were prepared to act upon them. The committee also stressed the moral side of the movement, emphasized the need of audit and supervision, and recommended the strengthening of the cooperative departments. The keynote of its recommendations was the mobilization of deposits. 1st June 2004, third stage, 1919 to 1929, period of unplanned expansion. With the introduction of Reforms Act of 1919, after the conclusion of First World War, cooperation became a provincial subject and was placed under the charge of a minister. Many states passed their own cooperative acts to suit their own needs. Cooperative Societies Act of Bombay was passed in 1925, Madras in 1932 and of Odisha in 1935 on the lines of Cooperative Societies Act of 1912. This was the another landmark in the history of the cooperative movement. The post-war boom and rising prices further provided boost to the cooperative movement. Different kinds of cooperative societies in the field of credit supply distribution, better farming, mortgage banking started taking shape. During the period the movement continued to make rapid progress. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU. 1st June 2005 4th stage, 1929 to 1939, period of consolidation and reorganization. The most significant feature of the period was the Great Depression, and the establishment of the Reserve Bank of India with an agricultural credit department. The main function of this department was to study agricultural credit problems and give financial help to cooperative credit structure and help the cooperative movement. The Great Depression of 1930 gave a tremendous setback to the cooperative activity. The fall in prices of agricultural goods threatened the existence of some societies and disturbed the economic stability of others. This led to the failure of repaying credit. Because of non-payment of loans by members, the growth of cooperative hampered. Another main cause of failure of the cooperative movement was the lack of the requisite education and of adequate supervision and guidance, as pointed out by the Royal Commission.
During this period only, the Land Mortgage Bank was established. The first cooperative Land Mortgage Bank was organized in 1920 at Rang in Punjab, and the first Central Land Mortgage Bank was established in Madras in 1929. The main object was to provide agricultural loans on long-term basis. This bank helped the agriculturists for releasing their lands from the clutches of money lenders and development of lands by granting long-term loans. 1st June 2006, 5th stage, 1939 to 1947, period of recovery. During this period the cooperative movement made rapid progress as a result of the Second World War. The farmers gained heavily owing to an increase in the prices of agricultural commodities. As a result of high prices, most of the overdues, which had accumulated during the period of depression, were cleared off. The deposits of the societies increased and the demand for fresh loans was rather low. Consequently, many banks were faced with the problem of surplus funds. Due to the imposition of controls on the distribution of commodities, food rationing, a number of consumer cooperative stores were established. Industrial cooperatives were also set up chiefly to produce war material. There was a marked growth of marketing societies. Non-credit societies and multipurpose societies were also developed. There was overall growth of all types of cooperatives, credit and non-credit, except housing cooperatives due to high prices of raw materials. This period was treated to be the period of recovery. Cooperative movement in other countries. 1.7, England, Consumer Cooperative Movement. Robert Owen. The cooperative movement in a real sense began with Robert Owen, a factory manager, a pioneer of industrial cooperation, trade unionism, and an advocate of communal living. He had made certain new experiments for improving the conditions of workers, like reducing the working hours, improving the working and living conditions. He did not believe in accumulation of wealth. His chief concern was human happiness. Owen, 1771 to 1858, envisaged villages including farmlands and small-scale industry, all operated cooperatively by the citizens of the villages who would live communally. Robert Owen, who is regarded as father of cooperation, his principles and ideas continued to inspire the cooperative movement. These principles are: 1. Abolition of private profit, 2. Voluntary association, 3. Common ownership of the means of production, and 4. The utilization of the wealth of the community for increasing the happiness of mankind. The Rochdale pioneers. During the early period of cooperative development, Rochdale Friendly Cooperative Society was formed in 1830 at Rochdale, England. A consumer's cooperative store. In the name of the Rochdale Equitable Pioneers Society, registered under Friendly Society Act, started in Toad Lane, Rochdale, England on 21 December 1844, and continuing to this very day, provided the organizational and operating pattern that became the example for other consumers' cooperatives, both at the retail and wholesale levels, the world over. The business practices later called as Rochdale Principles, which these pioneers laid down for operating their store on Toad Lane, were not individually novel, but the combination of all them are essentially new. These practices were: 1. Capital should be contributed by own members that bear a fixed rate of interest. Limited interest on equity capital. 2. Only the purest provisions procurable should be supplied to members, to prevent adulteration of food. 3. Full weight and measures should be given. Provide honesty in weighing. 4. Market prices should be charged, and no credit neither given nor asked. Cash trading, no credit accounts, charge prevailing prices. 5. Profits should be divided in proportion to the amount of purchases made by each member, patronage refunds. 6. The principles of one member one vote should prevail in society, and the equality of the sexes in membership, democratic control. 7. Management should be in the hands of officers and a committee elected periodically by the members. Representative government and control of the cooperative. 8. A definite percentage of profit should be allotted to education. Provision for education in cooperation. 9. Frequent statements and balance sheets should be presented to the members. Member information. 10. No inquiry should be made into the political and religious opinions of those who apply for membership. Political and religious neutrality. Such principles as democratic control by member users, limited dividend on equity capital, patronage basis refunds are almost universally followed. Although the existence of hundreds of societies, it was the Rochdale Pioneers Society which achieved tremendous success and moved Britain towards the path of economic and social development. Rochdale became the example for others to follow. 1 July 2001, Germany, Raiffeisen and Schulz. Herr F.W. Raiffeisen. Germany is the birthplace of cooperative credit movement in the world. Germany was the first country in the world to apply the principles of cooperation in the field of credit. The cooperative credit movement was started in Germany in the middle of the 19th century. At that time the economic condition of Germany was extremely bad, and the peasantry and artisans felt crushed under the heavy weight of indebtedness. Famines were common phenomena. The Jews ruled over the market, and the poor laborers and farmers were compelled to buy articles of their requirements from them and sell their products to them. The Jews were not only buyers and sellers but moneylenders as well. German peasantry and laborers were thus passing bad times and were almost broken. Herr E.W. Raiffeisen, 1818 to 1888, and Herr Franz Schulz, 1809 to 1883, the two pioneers in this field, took initiative and started introducing various measures of relief. They started their schemes at about the same time, but their field of operation was entirely different. Raiffeisen tried to reduce the sufferings of the people living in the rural areas, while Schulz adopted the new measures for giving relief to the people living in the urban areas. Both were convinced that the condition of the people could be improved only if they were taken out of the clutches of the Jews. Self-help was considered to be the only way out. It was Raiffeisen who contributed the maximum to the spread of the cooperative movement in Germany. Raiffeisen had set up the Herdesdorf Beneficent Society, in 1854, in Herdesdorf, whose members were also well-to-do people. These people deposited money with the society on interest. Loans were given to deserving fanners and artisans for productive purposes. Although the society was a grand success, Raiffeisen did not like the idea that the poor people should be at the mercy of the rich. He therefore enrolled them as members of the society. Accordingly, a new society was constituted under the name of Herdesdorf Credit Union. The memorable phrase, "one for all and all for one," was coined there. The movement gained momentum and, in a short time, many credit unions were organized. The Grand Union of Rural Cooperatives, also known as Raiffeisen Union, was set up in 1877. Characteristics, features of the Raiffeisen societies. Times membership was limited to the rural masses, especially farmers and cultivators. Times unlimited liability of the members. Times small area of operation. Times small loans were given to the members, which were recovered over a long period. Times loans were given on the basis of personal security of the members and only for productive purposes. Emphasis was on the personal character of the borrower. Times nominal share capital. Times profit earning was not the motive, and even under the cooperative law only a small portion of profits was distributed to the members as dividend. Times losses and profits were transferred to the reserve fund and endowment fund. The endowment fund was indivisible. Times the management was honorary. Times emphasis was given to moral as well as material well-being. Herr Franz Schulz. Schulz was a judge in his native town of Delitzsch. He had seen the miserable condition of the people, especially of low means, with his own eyes. In 1850, he founded the first credit association with the funds provided by those who were well off and who did not require any financial help. Schulz was conscious of this situation and, therefore, he emphasized that no one could obtain loan from the association unless he was its member. 2 years later, in 1852, Schulz founded a society at Delitzsch, which was based on cooperative principles. He obtained the required capital through the sale of Sylvias. The number of banks started by him increased rapidly, and in 1859 organized a congress of these banks. The congress decided to set up the General Union of German Industrial Societies. He was its director till his death in 1883. Characteristics, features of the Schulz-Delitzsch societies. Times membership was limited to artisans, industrial workers and middle-class people living in cities and towns. Times limited liability of the members. Times large area of operation. Times the amount of loans advanced was bigger and the period of the repayment was short. Times loans were given on the security of tangible assets. Although loans were advanced for productive purposes, no supervision over the utilization of the loan was made. Times a straw in share capital. Times profit earning was the chief motive and rate of dividend was quite high. Times not much emphasis was given to the reserve fund. Reserve fund was used for making up losses, but it was required to be made good as soon as possible. Times the management was paid. Times the chief concern was with the material well-being of the members. 1st July 2002, Dairy Cooperatives in Denmark. Denmark is a small country in Europe having a small population. Its area is only 17,000 square miles. Though the country is very poor in natural resources, it has good fertile soil and 75% area is under cultivation. Denmark is the homeland of agricultural cooperation in the world. Surprisingly, the cooperative movement in Denmark was started with the establishment of consumers' store in accordance with the Rockdale principles. Afterwards, it shifted to dairy business. The abundant production of milk, butter and cheese in the country played an important role for the development of cooperative movement. In dairy business, Denmark is still one of a leading country in the world and is a major exporter of dairy products. The first cooperative dairy was set up in Gjiding with the initiative of a young dairyman, Mr. Stilling Anderson, in 1882. Since then the continuous efforts have been made to develop the cooperative dairy movement. The country is called the Co-operative in Denmark. The dairy cooperatives play an important role in the country's socio-economic development. Structure of dairy cooperative. Three-tier structures of dairy cooperatives are as under. 1. Primary dairy cooperatives at primary level. 2. Regional Dairy Association. 3. Federation of Danish Dairy Association. Salient fee 2 times S of dairy cooperative in Denmark. 1. The movement grew spontaneously and naturally. The credit of success goes mainly to the efforts of members and their self-generating energy. 2. No law concerning cooperative societies. Not even public registration of them. The state neither supports nor hampers the movement. 3. Cooperative character of the Danish and their qualities of moderation, goodwill, sociability, spirit of cooperation, civic sense and spirit of self-help. 4. Finances are available not from the government but from the National Cooperative Bank, having branches throughout the country, and from the private commercial banks. 5. Cooperatives are of single purpose rather than multipurpose. The belief in specialized and decentralized activity of each branch has developed its own regional and national federations. 6. Quality control. A special trademark, the Lebra ND, was introduced to control the quality. 7. 70% of the dairy products including butter, cheese, cream and milk powder is exported and 30% is sold in the home market. 8. Prices of milk are paid to producers on the basis of fat contents, weight and hygienic quality of milk. 9. Organization of Dairy Society, Denmark. This is a federation to which cooperative dairies as well as export organizations are affiliated for coordinating the production and marketing activities in the whole cooperative dairy business. 1 July 2003, Cooperatives in Israel, Collective Farming. Israel has been, since its establishment in 1948 and even before that, a testing ground for institutional settings in agriculture. Approximately 80% of agricultural output in Israel is produced on cooperative and communal farms, the rest is produced by privately owned enterprises. Tune and shifting circumstances have forced significant structural changes on cooperative agriculture. There are 4 major forms of agricultural cooperatives in Israel: kibbutzim, moshavim, communal moshavim, and secondary service cooperatives. Many other small cooperatives also exist. A kibbutz, PL. Kibbutzim, is a village of 200 to 2,000 people. Today there are 269 kibbutzim in Israel. Basically, the kibbutz is a commune in which members work on the collective farm and in the non-farm enterprises manufacture and provide services. Consumption, food, lodging, clothing, education, health care, etc., is provided on egalitarian principles and according to needs. Strictly speaking and by conventional definitions, the kibbutzim are not cooperatives, but they are an integral part of the institutional setting of agriculture in Israel, and their story complements the examination of the development of farm cooperatives. A moshav, moshavim, is a cooperative village made of 60-120 member F-S. There are 411 moshavim in Israel. The farms in the moshav are private, but all farmers are members of the village cooperative and provided by it with local services, marketing, provision of inputs, finance and municipal services. A communal moshav is a village where the farm or non-farm enterprises are run collectively, kibbutz style, while families own their dwellings. Members receive equal pay for working in the village enterprises, but run their own households privately. There are 45 communal moshavim in Israel. Most of the secondary cooperatives are regional organizations, the members of which are either kibbutzim or moshavim, seldom both in the same co-op. The services they provide are produce, collecting, sorting, storage, transportation, cotton ginning and financial services. One secondary cooperative, Tinuva, is the largest manufacturer of dairy products in the country. 1.8 New Age cooperatives. New types of institutions have come up in cooperative sector to meet the aspiration of members and to harness new business opportunity. Though their area of operation is new, but their business is based on the principles and philosophy of cooperation. They are creating waves in new area, as some of them are successful and some of them in beginning stage but with lots of promises. This type of cooperatives includes hospital cooperatives in Kerala, agritourism cooperatives in Maharashtra, writers cooperatives in Orissa, engineers cooperatives in Kolkata, beggars cooperatives in Assam, snake charmers cooperatives in Tamil Nadu, irrigation cooperatives in Kamtaka, electricity cooperatives in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Orissa, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Rural electric and telephone cooperative associations, USA, health cooperatives and health insurance cooperatives, Australia, and car sharing cooperatives, Australia, are some of tile examples of new age cooperatives in European countries. Let us now summarize the points covered in this unit. 1.9 Summary. Times cooperation is self-help as well as mutual help, in which a group of persons who are not financially strong comes together and by association with others and mutual support obtain the advantages available to the wealthy people. Times cooperation can be explained with its characteristic features, i.e. a. Association of persons, b. Business enterprise, c. Voluntary enterprise, d. Democratic enterprise. E. Motto is to serve rather than to earn, f. Mutual help, g. Equality and equity, h. Aim is socio-economic change, I. Service to community. Times cooperation has an objective to remove disparities of the society and to improve socio-economic condition of its members. Times Indian cooperative movement is a child of distress and emerged out of turmoil and dissatisfaction. Times Sir Frederick Nicholson was appointed by Madras Govt to study the cooperative movement in European countries, and he recommended for the Raiffeisen societies in 1897 to improve the condition of Indian farmers. Times the first Cooperative Societies Act was passed in 1904. Times the cooperative movement in India has passed through various ups and downs. The history of the origin and growth of the cooperative movement in India can be divided into 5 stages. First stage 190,4-1911. Second stage 1912 to 1918, period of hurried expansion. Third stage 1919 to 1929, period of unplanned expansion. Fourth stage 1929 to 1939, period of consolidation and reorganization. Fifth stage 1939 to 1947, period of recovery. Times England was the first country in the world where cooperative movement was started in 1844. Times Rochdale Poniers was the first successful cooperative society registered in 1844. At Rochdale, England, the business practices followed by the Rochdale Pioneers Society, later called as Rochdale Principles. Times Germany was the birthplace of cooperative credit movement in the world. F.W. Raiffeisen and Herr Franz Schulz were the pioneers of this movement. Raiffeisen worked for the rural credit movement while Schulz worked for the urban credit movement. Times dairy cooperatives plays an important role in the socio-economic development of Denmark. The country is called Cooperative Denmark. Times in Israel approximately 80% of total agricultural output is produced on cooperative and communal farms. There are 4 major forms of agricultural cooperatives in Israel. They are kibbutzim, moshavim, communal moshavim and secondary service cooperatives. New types of institutions called New Age cooperatives have come up in cooperative sector to meet the aspiration of members. This type of cooperatives includes hospital cooperatives, agritourism cooperatives, writers cooperatives, engineers cooperatives, beggars cooperatives, snake charmers cooperatives, irrigation cooperatives, electricity cooperatives. Rural electric and telephone cooperative associations, USA, health cooperatives and health insurance cooperatives, Australia, and car sharing cooperatives, Australia, are some of the examples of New Age cooperatives in European countries. Thank you, subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.